Welcome to Mind Shift Monday. We are excited to have an opportunity to share with you how you can shift your mind and transform all aspects of your life. Some really intelligent professionals help walk us through the process. One is getting ready to join us right here and right now. I have Celeste Curry, the emotional locksmith, and we got one more. Come on, accept. Come on in here. And as we get started today, we've got, did I get Celeste in here? Celeste, where'd she go? Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. I'm here, man. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good.
I'm trying to figure out
Good.
if we can get Celeste in here. And I'll adjust my,
Ah,
there she is.
there.
Hey.
Hey, Celeste.
Wow, I feel so privileged to meet the Keith.
Ducky, who? No, trust me. I am more honored at this very moment that you have arrived, Miss Celeste.
Well, praise
I've
him.
heard so many wonderful things. I have. Amen.
Hopefully good things. So only believe the good things.
Well,
I do.
Good.
on that note,
Little,
I would say what a blessing it is to have both of you who I'm continuously bouncing things off of. Both of you are professionals in the field of mental health. You see people all the time. You help people to really get out of the rut that we sometimes find ourselves in. And today's topic, I think, is so important. And I'm just going to dive right into it. It is accountability, the secret ingredient to unlocking your superpowers. And
Mm.
how that pertains to what it is that's happening in a lot of people's lives, why we struggle, and how we can get a shift in our mind so that we can
Mm.
change key aspects of our lives. So I want to just like open up the floor and just ask you, I guess, ladies first. So Celeste, in terms of accountability and what it is that you do, how important is accountability?
accountability is when I say everything. There's so many places we can go with this, but accountability is the way that I think you can't even get freedom until you get there, because
Mm.
I not me, girl. And I didn't realize how much I was stunning my own growth. And I could look around and see around me that I was going nowhere fast. It wasn't until I started taking accountability and saying, ooh, that's me. And I think I talked about it on a live a few weeks ago, that when God to take accountability and start apologizing for some things many years ago, I thought that it was to save a particular relationship. And so I did it with the intention of that relationship being saved. And then after a while, God was like, this is to save you.
Wow.
And I was like, wait a minute.
Wow.
And so through that, I was able to birth businesses. I was able to build new relationships, all because of accountability. So I'm ready for this live. I'm super excited. And I'm so excited for our guest today. What do you have to say, Keith?
Oh my goodness. This topic is multi-layered, it's multifaceted. I'm glad to be here to expound on my experience and just the and the conversation. Accountability is one of those things that without you, like as you said, you don't get far. I'm thinking of a few things. That's why I'm kind of stuttering. I'm thinking of a few things right now. For one, I believe we as men like to be comfortable. We like to reach a certain space and place, and we like that comfort. I love the fact that I have people in my corner that remind me when I'm getting comfortable and becoming complacent. And it's not, again, accountability can come across as negative, but for most of us who know the importance of it, is absolutely necessary. I don't think there's anybody who should be out here without some level or some layer of accountability.
So let's dive into some of the differences that the gender differences between men who struggle with it and women who
Oh,
struggle
women
with it. We
always, we always do it.
You always
I'm
do
just
what?
you guys.
Wait, hold on. You said you always do what?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, sorry.
This is our first
He was about to unroll the scroll.
Yeah, we need. I remind our viewers that we had a back and forth. We actually had Warren, my good friend Warren here, and we were supposed to have Keith on, but he wasn't able to join us. But it was why women have difficulty apologizing. But we
I'm
ended up,
mad. I'm mad. I missed that one because I really wanted. I really no. I
you
really
want
wanted. I need to hear it.
and we needed you, bro. We needed you,
I'm
but we
mad.
tried to hold
I
it
missed
down as
that.
best we could. We
I'm mad.
tried.
I missed
Yeah,
that. I'm
I
mad.
don't
I
know
missed
how
that.
good of a job we did because the women were double teaming me, and luckily we have you here today. And so in the context of accountability, though, why is it that many women struggle with accountability? What's some of the things that you've seen in your respective practices, and how does that influence and impact us as a people, as believers, as moms, dads, aunts, uncles, teachers, workers? Why do women struggle with accountability, Celeste?
Well, I think women probably struggle with accountability. I mean, for a lot of different reasons. Because if we're accountable for something, we sometimes mistaken that for something being wrong with us. Something
Mm,
wrong with me. If if I mean, clearly, if I have flaws. It's interesting because my first real encounter with this as a child was a relative of mine who we used to play spades. I came out the womb playing spades. And so there was a relative that wanted to be perfect in her husband's eyes. I was very young and we played spades, and I was on the opposing team, and the score was, they lost. They were like -200. If you know anything about spades, that's not good. And we won with like 500 something. And I
mm,
grabbed paper and I balled it up and I started running. And I said, "Ooh, I can't wait to show him when he gets home." Her husband, she was older than me, she chased me down, but I couldn't understand why it meant so much to her. Like, it wasn't even a playful chasing at that point, but I always remembered that. And I was like, wow, even though the idea of being able to present as perfect, some people really do hold on to that story. But I think that the greatest freedom comes from our imperfections. Like, I'd rather learn now, today. Now, it wasn't always me. And I still, and my sister's on here, she'll say, I still sometimes, when she tries to call me out, sometimes I'm like, and then I have to sit back and I say, you know what? That that makes all the sense in the world.
Mm.
And so I struggle with it because we create the story sometimes that it means that something's wrong with us.
that's true.
Thank
That's
you for
true.
sharing.
That's one reason. That's one reason.
Okay,
There are
That's
others.
good.
all right. Okay, Brother Keith, can you give
Yes,
us
sir.
the truth about why women struggle with accountability? What have
This
you seen, and how?
song, I can see it now.
you, you can see it now. Why do women struggle?
What have you seen?
Man, if I had, man, if I feel like if I had the whole answer to that, I'd be a trillionaire. But as I said, there's one reason. That was just one reason that she gave. But as from the clients I see, and from just the people, it's not even about clients, just the people I know, the women I know, it it does make them feel like something's wrong with them. But for some reason, Well, let me go back even before that, because I think a lot of times it is something that for many of them is rooted in childhood. A lot of them were made to hate, and I don't want to create this umbrella that every family is the same, but this is what I've seen. Um, I think I see a lot of young men. It used to be this way, at least. A lot of young men grew up receiving feedback from mom. If they played on a team, they received feedback from a team. If they had a girlfriend or a wife, like in all these spaces and times, they got used to having this person hold them accountable for the things they do. I did not see many women with the same level. They may have had a mother. Many of them expressed having a mother who was overbearing, and that made them hate it. So now I don't take accountability and I don't apologize because I didn't get those. I mean, I hated the accountability I got because it was toxic, and my mom never apologized to me, so I don't apologize either. So again, now they're older and they're having unsuccessful relationships, and now I have the responsibility of holding them accountable, but it's in a different way. But they don't. But it's rejected initially. Because I'm gonna, again, if you told me you want to repair these things or you want to fix these things in your life, and I'm holding you accountable, you're not gonna like. I'm not here to again. You're not gonna like me. You're not. It's not gonna feel good. I'm gonna remind you. This is what you said you wanted to fix. And many times, I will say more than not. The women sometimes will stop coming. A lot of times, that's when they're held accountable. That's the end of treatment.
Wow.
So men may get mad, getting their feelings, but I see more than not, sometimes they check out too, because sometimes it's not about gender, sometimes it's about the diagnoses. But I know a lot of times when the men are made to feel uncomfortable, I think we've been in a position, even if you work a job, a lot of us have worked jobs where we had bosses who cuss and fuss. We're used to it, I hate to say. You came in late again. You all like you need to improve this. You need to improve that. I'm not saying women don't have those things because they do, but I think it's harder. And then on one hand, I am very. I've had a chance to see through social media what women go through. I think a lot of times their biggest critics are other women.
Wow.
And women can be mean and harsh to each other. Just a woman decided to breastfeed, and it was something that shouldn't. I mean, I look at the comments and it's like 500 different women telling this woman what she could have, should have, would have done, and how she's wrong, and it's a lot of pressure. So again, I bring that up to say you become so numb to everybody having feedback about you that you don't care to hear any of it, even when it's good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. Celeste, you want to rebuttal? I saw you smiling like you were just ready.
I wanted to get him, but then when he went on the professional tip, I couldn't really go against that.
Go that much anyway. So never mind. I didn't ask you. No, go ahead. I'm just messing.
Yeah, that I think if we stop creating stories, I think we'd be a whole lot better. Like if we stop creating stories about what it meant, because I'm telling you, before I could accept, that's why the Bible says a wise man loves correction. Like, what is that? Like a wise man, like you can't learn anything in your own bubble. We learn from
No,
other people. Well, you know how
we
they
do.
say smart people learn from their own mistakes, but genius learn from others. Well, if I can't really accept accountability from anyone, I can't grow from anyone else's experiences. And I just have to keep hitting my head, which means that there goes my financial blessings. There goes my relationship blessings. There goes every single blessing that God promised me because there's no room for me to grow. So accountability has been my best friend. Now it's interesting. I wanted to ask you guys, do you think it's easier for a man to accept correction from another man or from a woman?
That's a really good question.
Keith was talking and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
therapy, and you're kind of calling him out. What do you got?
I think it is, and I've done some conversation. Well, I've been out speaking on this before, but I think it depends on the person. I've seen in juvenile detention facilities, for example, these young men who've never had a male role model. I mean, they've never had a male figure of authority. That's what I'm trying to say. And to now have me come in and some of the, no, they have the officers, or was considered they don't call them officers. They were youth workers. But even that has, those are other, no one's helping them in a positive way. Let me put it that way. When these men talk to you, they're ordering you around, they're telling you what to do. It's not, some of them care, but not. I'm not going to pretend that all of them do. Then, if they go to the adult prison again, you have a warden, you have male correction officers. You don't have a lot of men in your life trying to help you. So when they do sit down with me, they expect to be met with the same rigidity as they have with all these other men in their lives. So trying to offer them that level of accountability and correction is hard for some of them. Some of them can because that hasn't been their experience, but I think it varies. But on average, with the average guy, I think whether we like to hear the feedback of another guy or not, sometimes it comes easier from another guy, depending on what it is. Depending on what it is, I think it depends on the topic too. I think there's certain things that only like guys. I love going like the barbershop. Guys, I'm thinking some of the stuff that the older men would say in the barbershop. That if I went home and asked my mother or grandmother, they'd be like, "What foolish?" Because what foolishness are they telling you down there? I think the older men had a way of seeing life and they would share it. And sometimes it's spot on and sometimes dead wrong. Um, uh, but I think as young men, because we don't know, we're sponges and I'll speak for myself. I feel like I received all of it, good and bad advice.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How
I'll,
about you?
I'll say, as I thought about it, I think it is and has been easier to receive that type of constructive feedback from a male voice.
Really?
Yeah. That's my that was my gut. I had to do some soul searching. Um, yeah, I think that it is. Even with the absence of growing up with my father. Um, I
Why would you think otherwise? I'm curious. You really was like you sound really surprised. What surprised you about that answer?
Because I didn't know how growing up without, his dad, how that would weigh in on that. And because his mother was the one, I just see literal hands nurturing, literal hands providing. And so when I think of women being the ones providing, that they would be the more trusted ones. And I guess it's not equivalent to trust per se, but I just didn't think that. I didn't think that, which means that we really need more men to be helping, because there are a lot of women doing a lot of work
Yeah, absolutely. No,
we
absolutely.
as effective with all populations, and with y'all not stepping up, we need y'all.
We do. We need healthy us's. And the reason why I say that is because again, I like I told you, some guys at the barbershop gave me great advice, and some guys at the barbershop about to have me in jail or dead. So, um, but that is true. I think what I'm hearing you say is true. Mom was there, but the not that it wasn't appreciated because it was, but the value on what isn't here, I guess
Mm,
it kind of create the stock kind of goes up because I have mom telling me everything. I have her telling me what needs to happen and how I need to go about doing it. But that's that daddy stock, that masculine testosterone. It matters, like you said, it matters, and there has to be a balance. Because again, I've seen the opposite. I've seen where dad is there and they need that nurturing from mom. Like they're smart, they're energetic, they're passionate kids, but they have this social emotional damage where they're not, unable to connect. And that's not that dad didn't raise them. It's just they're missing that energy from mom or that. So it works both ways, but when there is a void or dad is there, because I've seen cases where dad is there, but he's not connected in that way, it creates a void. You're longing for that male leadership
yeah.
where son get out there, daughter get out there, do this. I believe in you. Let's go. Let's get it. Because it's different.
it's very, very different. And if I could just speak to that really fast, I don't want to get stuck there. Um, there's a way that men communicate
It
where,
is different.
you know, God bless the female gender, moms, sisters, but sometimes it's very helpful to just have a man to just condense it without the into the the Cliff Notes version of what needs to be done, and maybe with a little bass in your voice and a little bit of eyeball to it, and it's just like, okay, I got you, done deal, as opposed to wah, 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 wah.
But Danny, the people, the people in the class that read the Cliff Notes were the ones that failed. There were a lot of
Not
hurt.
all the time.
Put your finger down. Finger down. Listen. So, but I mean, I hear you. I think that's the reason why God created the yin and the yang. We really do need both.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I tell people it takes two to make them, and it takes a village to raise them. It's well, you can't do it without it. You need it. Kids need it. It like you have to have it. I'm trying to think. There was something else. It was something you just said.
Yeah, yeah, but what you just said, I need somebody to put that in the chat. It takes two to make them and a village to raise them.
It does.
If it's a replay, put it in the chat so that we can get that just like and pin that comment.
Oh,
We need that.
It's my mantra. I remind people every day when they're trying to raise kids by themselves. Why are you doing that? It took two to make them, but you need a village because you need all hands. Trust me, you need all hands on deck. But going back to what you said about that's because again, all kids are different. Some kids need all the verbiage. I'm observing in my own house. My wife has a lot more words than I do. It's beautiful. She will explain things, and she'll break it down and give another explanation. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, you must want to go to bed. I don't think, but all the words didn't connect. When I said, do you want to go to bed? No, then sit down. Okay. Sometimes the Cliff Notes do work because these kids are smart. He already understood why she was telling him to do what he needed to do. He ain't playing games. So I reminded him. So what part of that was confusing? Nothing. Okay. So, but listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like dads have it all together because I also got daughters. And listen, I need every ounce of her to help me understand these girls. Because
I liked you 10 minutes ago.
Listen, I still love you. Listen, I'm just trying to tell you, these are the differences I notice about the world and how people communicate. I'm not saying they're bad. Like I said, there's a place for all the words.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But because I know sometimes I have to use a bunch of words. Everybody's different. When I talk to my daughters, I have to try to speak their language. I don't have as many words as mom, but when I speak to my daughters, I have to use more words than I normally would use with the boys. The boys y'all stop. That's it.
That's it.
Ladies,
Interesting.
don't do that.
I wonder how that plays out in their language with others and women when they get older to predict how their marriages, and I don't just mean your children, I mean society, how we do that with the men and the women. And then women get in these relationships with men and we're looking for language. We're looking for to be able to
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Women are looking for language. And one of the things I try to do with my clients is work on that. My young men. My undergrad's in communication, so that's a big deal to me, communicating. And trying to mix that with just teaching them how to manage their own. In order to get help with managing their symptoms, we got to figure out how to communicate what's even going on. And a lot of young men don't know how to do that. A lot of grown men don't know how to do that. A lot of people. So yes, there is a time for everything under the sun. So sometimes, yes, there is a time to use all the words, and for men to use all the words. When it gets important, when it becomes something important, men will use more words. When it's all right, we trying to win this game. what we doing? So when we get in that huddle, we start to, you go this way and I'm gonna run here, set the pick. Like there are times where we will, or even with our wives, when we don't want her to be mad at us no more, we got to use all the words. Baby, I know I forgot the milk. And I said, we will start being more vocal.
Yeah.
Is
It's
it,
You will, Keith.
what's that?
Some of you will.
Some of us will. Some of us haven't learned to be. Some of us are short and will shut down because it's easier.
so with that, let's transition because we can be all
Accountability. I'm sorry.
transition. Let's go into why men. Why do some men struggle with accountability? So let me just start with confession. Like I've been lost before, and I could have asked for directions, but
Yes, Lord. That's 99.9 of us.
figure it out myself. Why? Why some men? Why do we struggle with accountability? So we're gonna go back to front. Well, no, we'll go ladies first. So let's, because you have something. I don't know if you want to tie it into what you were just going to say right now, but what have you as a man struggling?
That in. It makes me wonder what's your relationship with help.
Mm.
I just mean men. Like what's the whole story you created about what help means to
Mm.
you? And so I know a guy, I'm going to try to tie this in, but there's a guy that before he got married, he talked to his guy friends. He didn't even talk to me. Like I'm a friend and a whole therapist over here. Like I got you. But no, he did that after his marriage was literally on its last leg, and that
Mm.
leg, a banana peel. He calls and he talks. And I said, "You did what? You did what? You did what she asked for, and she's asking for a hug, and she's asking to cuddle, and you say to her, um, we can't make any money cuddling, right? Right? And and, and
That's one.
oh, what did you do?" He said, "Well, I got advice from my guy friend. And my guy friend told me to make sure that a woman never holds sex over your head. So if she," and I was like, "What? You thought that was the equivalent of," right? So when he was in trouble, he went
Wow.
to his guy friends, supposedly maybe for accountability, but what he got was really bad advice. So then in turn, when he came to me as a woman, I don't know if it's because I'm a therapist too, I called him out on his stuff. I helped him to understand her heart. And she wasn't in the room, but I said, yeah, she's out of order, for certain things. But it wasn't until he actually was held accountable that he actually began to grow. So now we all need, always pray that it's not too late for her heart.
Mm.
But we get into trouble when we don't have people that really accountable. So men, sometimes you're going to get that from another man, or you're going to get the barbershop talk, like Keith said. And then you might just have to call a woman, and it's okay.
It is.
And, and then we can call you out on your stuff in love.
And y'all do
And
a good
sorry.
job doing that, but we don't
Yeah.
like we
No,
don't like it. Can I just say we don't like it? Can
we don't
any
like it.
just say, like, how comfortable do you really feel when your woman is holding you accountable? Doesn't that make you feel? It just makes you feel just like you need to take a bath or something. It's just like icky.
But yeah, or just in general, I think a lot of the times we don't like to be wrong.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I'm not making excuses, but sometimes I'll put this, there are a lot of men who are in relationships. I'm glad it's not me, but there are a lot of men who are in relationships when they're wrong, they will never hear the end of it. Again, like you missed that left turn. I'm gonna talk about that left turn you missed, and all we gotta do is turn around and go back. But I'm gonna talk about the whole night. In fact, just take me home now, because I don't want to do this. I don't want to go out. You missed the turn. You
They say I have a headache now.
So accountability is good. Like again, if I miss the turn, you can hold me accountable. Hey, babe, you missed the turn, and we're going to be late. So we got to turn around. I think a lot of times we don't want it because, and it's not always the wife. Sometimes it's how we got it as children. Sometimes there's overbearing dads who were overkill too much. So when we get older, we're walking on eggshells to make sure. I see a lot of military parents who are kind of like that. They're very regimented. So when you get older, accountability is, again, you're not perfect. You're flawed. You can't even, you can't do anything right. I've heard a lot of military kids tell me that. They feel like they can't do anything right because they don't live up to the standards of their parents. But I have seen the inverse, though, where when it's the youngest, and the youngest is a boy, a lot of responsibilities will be placed on his older sisters. And they will get the brunt of. Sometimes he only, or it could just be the only boy. The sisters will get a lot of. The moms will be really hard on the sisters, and I've seen situations where the young men grew up with no accountability because he was almost the prince of the home. Like if the house was dirty, it was he could have done it, but the girls were going to get the brunt of it. And again, so when he got older and he was finally corrected, he hadn't gotten it his entire life. So it was hard for him to hear, no, you're messy. Well, nobody's ever told me that. Well, no, his sister's like, no, you've always been messy. But if we said something to you, we got in trouble for it. So there's a lot of examples of situations where there's men who don't get it. There's men who get it, but they hate it. I'll speak for myself. I was talking to my wife about this today. We men, we hate change. We do. And accountability often means we have to change something. Why can't I just leave my shoes on the floor? It's where I always leave them. But no, I'm holding you accountable. They need to be put away.
So Keith, real fast, and this is a sidebar note, but you were trying to add to the discussion about the apologies, the difference between ego
Oh man.
I tried to I think the accountability discussion deserves some of that same some of that same ideology, because I know that from working with men, one of the things that is the biggest no for us is anything that makes us feel weak.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know, if you are ignorant of something, or I guess that's the same thing as don't know, but the perception is that you're supposed to be self-sufficient as a man. You're supposed to figure it out. You're supposed to be strong enough, smart enough. And when that voice comes to say, hey, you messing it up, that can have an impact on our need to know that we're doing okay, especially if that's the only thing that you're hearing. If you're just hearing everything that you're not, everything that you're messing up on, and you never hear, you know what, bro, you're doing you're doing the thing. I see you. I value what you bring to this table. So I don't know, Keith, if you could just kind of briefly talk about that, because I know that with the men that I've worked with, that's one of the worst feelings that a man can have, is this idea of feeling weak. And I don't know if that's tied to that ego versus pride discussion.
Our egos are, for many of us, our egos walk into the room before we do. So it's hard to walk in confidence when that's been bruised. It's hard to walk in confidence when that's been deflated. There is a pride attached to not being seen like the village idiot. I think a lot of times men grow up feeling, whether they vocalize it or not, a lot of us are very insecure. And even media has done a good job of believe it or not, making a lot of men, feel like, I'm thinking of Homer Simpson as an example, but a lot of men grow up feeling like, the village idiot, or and again, we know most times our wives are smarter than us in many ways, or more capable than us in many ways. So, but when you mix that with our own insecurities and things that we failed, or we're constantly being reminded of things we don't do right, and then somebody else wants to hold us accountable with something else, it becomes overbearing. And so that vulnerable feeling is terrible. When I mean, when it's mixed in, it makes you question your abilities as just a human being, not even just as a man. Like, what am I here for? Like, I'm messing up everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. It's interesting because what you were saying a few minutes ago reminded me of an old book, and it's called "We Raise Our Girls and Love Our Boys" about the African American family. And
That's true.
this woman, she raised like 4 doctors, all Black men, but she understood that concept that she couldn't put the remote control in their hands and then have
Mm,
the female, the girl relatives to do all the laundry.
right.
So they had the same responsibilities. They had to open their mouth
Necessary.
and ask, and they were held accountable, and there were all the
Yeah.
other people. But she had to rearrange the way she saw the Black family. She had to change that entire concept in her mind if she was going
Mm,
to raise boys to be real men. And so, yeah, it's sad. It's a shame that more boys aren't raised to really value themselves and to see that when you walk into the room that you're enough when you walk in. Like, you really
mm.
don't have to, you don't have to come in with anything else. You don't have to carry anything else. Like, you are enough when you walk in straight up, emotionally naked, I'll say, because that's authenticity. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's yeah. So even with me, like, I have 2 boys and
Mm.
and I've always apologized to them for ever since they were little. And God kind of led me to do that when they were younger. And I think it's really made a huge difference.
So let's connect that ability to apologize, to accountability, because there's nothing that's more definitive about accountability than an apology, which says, you know what, I messed up.
Yeah.
What, I should have done this instead. I should have. And many men and women struggle with this because they don't understand how important accountability is. In the context of the ability to repair your relationships with an apology, how critical is accountability?
Hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. If you know I mean, if you know that you haven't been doing something right and it's brought to your attention, most people who are healthy people, they learn that the apology, yes, is for the other person, but it's also sometimes, not sometimes, most times, it's for you. It's to free you of, it's to free you of knowing that you've made this error, or you've made this mistake, and now you're able to move on because I did mess up.
Yeah.
And thank you for holding me accountable, because now I could do something. Like you said, I can now shift and do something else. Going back to not wanting to change. Thank you, honey, for letting me know that I talked too rough to you. Now I got to figure out how to use more words, and they also have to be gentle. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, and I'll help you if you're a husband at home, boyfriend trying to talk to your lady, call me. I'll help you, but it takes accountability. So, because I'll say, you said what? How, like you said, you said cuddling is not going. Well, you say not going to pay the bills. Like, I would love to have that guy. I would love to talk to that guy right now, because again, I will hold him accountable. Why was that necessary?
Let me phrase the question this way. What's the
I
alternative?
got from the men, that's what he was prepared to present as the man in a relationship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let me rephrase the question this way. What's
Rephrase
the
it.
alternative to accountability in the context of this relationship? If you're not going to take account, you're not going to apologize. What are you thereby subscribing to?
Doom
Oh,
and gloom.
it's called alone. It's called cold. Yeah, yeah. That's what it's called.
I like that. It's called alone and cold. No, accountability is necessary, and the opposite of that, she hit the nail on the head. It's just alone and cold. Like, you don't maintain most relationships, and even the ones that you kind of feel you have to have, like with your children, because while they're in your house, they kind of have to be there. But the relationship that becomes severed, they will eventually separate, and that's where that aloneness will creep in.
Yeah, and I think it creates balance. I look at the church, and I look at
Mm.
the families that have been too strict. Their children.
Mm.
I've looked at my own church, and I these children grow up, and they have loving parents that really thought that. But accountability, you can have healthy accountability, and then you can have some other where there's just absolutely no real balance. And when you so I think that we need balance with that also. But accountability, I'm telling you, when I realize how much accountability helped me, it's helping me today. There's
Yeah.
some stuff that happened recently with me, and when I tell you, and I was talking to my son earlier, man, had I not been able to take responsibility for my stuff, I could really be in a place of major regret. But we think
Mm.
that it's other people's actions that determine how much regret we're going to have for this, that, and the other. No, it was my own, and being able to take responsibility so that when you land where you are today, you can really live in freedom. So I'm grateful because, again, like I said, I thought that God was telling me to take accountability years ago because I thought that it was going to help somebody else, because I thought accountability begets accountability, and that's not true.
Ooh,
No, it is not.
that's
I thought,
It is
but
not.
that ain't
It
never
is
it,
not.
it didn't ever happen.
No,
but I
it had to happen to them. Just put me in the chat. Just me. Like accountability does not beget accountability. This
it
is
does
not.
not.
It,
It
but
does not.
somebody should have told me. I was a whole therapist at the time.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
look, what's interesting, I didn't know, because your own personal relationships are so different from the therapeutic
Hmm.
uh
true.
Yeah.
therapy. But yeah, so I just encourage everybody on here today, if you're thinking about that thing that you need to go back and take accountability for, that is probably the beginning of your growth. It,
Mm.
we're not
Mm.
going to get on this today, but it is so good for your health. Accountability is, because all of your organs have to be in that conflict with you.
Yeah,
And I felt better, just even physically. Like after, it was like, like every organ can just take a deep breath when you take accountability. Because the thing
that's true.
now, in Caroline Miss, that book, she talked about how lying is a violation of our spirit, but we consider lies to be the ones that come out of here. But lack of accountability, you're really deceiving yourself.
Mm.
And so then every organ really has to take a hit for a lie. So don't fool yourselves that a lack of accountability. You're not hiding. You're just keeping yourself from growing
Yeah.
all day long.
That is true.
Last
That is true.
for us, those who struggle with accountability, how true is it that they oftentimes need to go back and get healed from a wound that is creating that struggle in the present?
So how true is it?
Yes. How true is it? If someone's struggling with accountability, what's the likelihood that they have a wound that it,
Oh
uh,
yeah. I would say the likelihood is is high, but I do know that there are so wounds that are so big and that are so great that they will never be fully healed, or they may not have time to completely heal the wound before they start accepting accountability. Sometimes you have to do it hurt. You're not fully healed. Yes, they owe you an apology, but you don't have to wait for them to give you one before you offer one. So I I just said this today because again, I didn't get okay. Well, I know it didn't happen, but you can't continue to hurt other people because of what you didn't get. So while I would love to see people heal first and then go out and be accountable, the reality is that so many of us are so damaged
Yeah.
that it's going to be a work in progress. Um, but the more we do it, as was stated, the more we do it, the better we feel, the lighter we feel, the happier and more complete we become. So, yeah,
Yeah, because I think there's an illusion that we think accountability is really going to help the other person a lot. I
that's
really,
true.
accountability is for you all day long. It, I'm telling you, I didn't become an entrepreneur until I could accept accountability, and I didn't
Yeah.
realize that me taking accountability, that would welcome me into certain rooms where I could be coachable. But I'm not coachable if I can't, which means how much am I growing? It's just like, you can stay stuck with that little bank account if you want to, or you can go in a room where you can learn how to be a 7 to 8 figure earner, but you're not going to learn that unless you have the ability to fail and learn from it. But you're not going to learn from your failure. You don't accept accountability. You're just going to repeat that same cycle, and you'll keep falling and
True.
saying, wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? You get up saying, wasn't me,
True.
and that's, every, so yeah, accountability it really, it's more than a window, it's a door. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
What do you think, Danny?
I definitely do believe that accountability is a key secret. And that's why we come here for Mind Shift Mondays, because we're here to give hope. If you're struggling, you got good company. I've struggled with accountability, but I've learned the power of opening oneself up to that constructive feedback, because
Mhm.
that's the only way that we can grow, is to acknowledge, you know what, I could have done better.
Yeah.
And even though I messed up, I've got a wonderful opportunity to do something different. Now that I'm able to face my failures instead of run from them, instead of hide them, with my designer fig leaves, I have the capacity to say it's my fault. And only then do I have the capacity to create a new reality, which reminds me of a book that someone has written entitled "The Power of a New Narrative."
Nice.
You can absolutely write a new end of your story, but you can't do that
Yeah,
if you don't take accountability. And
Yeah.
so,
true.
yeah. So where can they find?
Even God, not to prolong it, but even God was just, I always say, I wonder what would have happened if Adam had just taken accountability. He could have made a new Eve. God could have made a new, but what would have happened when God,
Mhm.
him, if he had just taken full accountability for his actions? Would he have still been in the garden? And God could have done this whole thing over. I mean, I love Eve, kind of, not really, but I, not another, you
How
know
many
what I'm saying?
how many kids did you give birth to? You really love Eve?
Oh, and I did all that with no medication, so she owes me big time. So,
What?
yeah. So, but all that to say,
You
that
my
accountability,
hero.
we've been dealing with this from the beginning, this whole accountability. But how different it could be, I think, if Adam himself would have just said, "Lord,
Yeah.
I did," but he didn't. He said it was the one that you. It's like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah,
He blamed everybody. He blamed the serpent, the woman, and God. Zero accountability. The serpent talked to the woman that you gave me. So y'all figure this out, because I'm
I ain't.
like, meanwhile he the main one that needed the accountability.
Yeah. So again, we want to offer hope to you
Yeah.
guys, because it's not something that's always going to come easy, depending on the circumstances that you have. We have a live event that we're going to be announcing. It's actually going to be in Baltimore, Maryland. Everyone who's here is going to be there May 17th, and it's
Oh,
going to
that's
be at the Miracle
coming up.
Church in Baltimore, the Miracle City Church in Baltimore on Friday. 7 p.m. We're going to have a lot more information coming to you on that. It's not intended to be real churchy, so it's very
yep.
informal. It's going to be collaborative. It's,
We got prizes. We have some secrets. We have some things to pull out of a hat. And believe me, we're offering opportunity for real change. Like, for real, y'all have been out there in these streets just trying to figure it out. Nobody's getting younger. Come out to Miracle City on May 17th. We're going to be pulling some things out the bag.
yeah,
We're
the curse. And so let's stop pointing the finger and learn how to put on our big boy draws, our big girl panties. Take some accountability. Takeaways, final takeaways. If you had to give one thing that you would want people to leave this live hearing and knowing, we'll go Celeste, Keith, one takeaway.
Wow, one takeaway. I guess it'll be a challenge. I would like everybody here, including us, to go and take accountability. Start with the person closest to you, and then yeah, take accountability for at least one thing with three different people. How about that? And then and you can't do it with excuses. Without any
What? No excuses? Oh man.
Yeah.
none. So that's what I was. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, and continue on that road. And I promise you, everything in your bank account will change. It's real. It's a real different life.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Keith, got it.
All right. Final takeaway: accountability equals change, in theory. But accountability equals change. If you do the work, you grow.
That's good. That's good. So, as we're concluding this live on Mindshift Monday, we thank you all for tuning in. Please, if you are anywhere in the vicinity of Baltimore, Maryland, on May 17th, come on out. It's a Friday night. What else are you doing on a Friday night? 7 p.m. We're going to have a fabulous time unpacking some of the things that sometimes it's difficult to talk about. We've got credentialed professionals. We've got some people who are just going to be telling their story and walking you through healing, wholeness, and emotional breakthroughs. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you again next Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Celeste, Keith, thank you again, and look forward to doing it in person.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes, Ebony.
Yes, sir.
If
Explore,
you're just
putting
tapping in
that down.
replay. I'm sorry, Celeste.
I was just thanking Ebony, the Explorer, for putting that in the chat down there. Thank you so much for that. And we look forward. Make sure you share this. Remember, I always tell you guys, share the live, sit down with your people and discuss it. You're getting all this stuff for free, y'all. This is free. You might as
Right.
well do something.
Right. That's true.
All right. We'll see you guys next Monday at 6.
Yeah, my brother Tavon came in honesty with yourself is the biggest part.
That is
And
true.
it reminded me, I know that we might have different belief systems, but there is, what's going on, Jay? It reminded me of that verse that says, if we claim to be without sin, we lie.
Speak for your. I'm just kidding.
Don't make,
We do.
if we claim to be without sin, we
Without
lie.
sin, we lie. Because there's another verse that tells us all have sinned
It's
and come short.
it's okay.
So
It's
it's
okay
okay.
to it's okay to make to not have everything figured out. It's okay to not get it right the first time. We all
Yeah,
have,
exactly.
and if we say we don't, we're lying. But if we confess, I messed up. We confess our sins. There's someone who's faithful and just to forgive
To
us
forgive.
and to cleanse us of all unrighteousness. And that cleansing, what the precursor to that forgiveness, the precursor
Come
to
on.
freedom
Come on, man.
is our accountability. It's me.
Yes,
You want me
yes.
I am.
yo, I'm gonna collect the offering. You keep playing. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, come on,
Come on.
come on. It
Come
is
on.
me, oh Lord, standing in the need. So it's okay for us to own that. Men, women, own it. It's me. I messed up.
Yeah.
Practice saying, and somebody needs to put it in the chat. Yeah, I messed up. You
I
know,
messed up.
practice in the chat right here, and then when you round your family and your friends, and you got to what you practice at, you get better at.
Yep.
And yeah, I think this is the third time I'm trying to end the live now, so I guess I just clicked it.
I know you. I'm not.
Yeah.
All
All right. Appreciate you guys.
right, man.
Me, that's right. Put it in the chat on the replay too. We need that. We
It's
need
me.
mind shift Monday. Shift your mind. It's not. Yes, it's me.
It's me.
Change aspects of your life. Let's
Yeah.
grow together. Take
Together.
care.
All right.